are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Sorry, my computer froze for everybody. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I am Dylan Larck at your boy Tech on Twitter, and I am here to talk to y'all today about the NFL draft that just concluded yesterday, as this show is currently broadcasting live. War Eagle Steven, what's going on, man? And of course, if you've not noticed already, it is my birthday. I'm officially 24. So big ups to your boy for hitting the Kobe year, if you will. But yeah, the NFL draft was over the past 3 days, and the first 2 days, if you were looking for any Auburn Tigers to get picked up, it was a very, very boring day for Thursday and Friday that the draft was there. Teresa, War Eagle to you as well. And then you get to day 3 of the draft on Saturday, and then you had all 5 of the Tigers getting picked up. And thanks for that birthday wishes, Steven. So starting off round 5, pick 136, Nehemiah Pritchett got drafted to the Seattle Seahawks. Round 6, pick 164, Jalen Simpson got picked up by the Indianapolis Colts. Round 6, pick 192, DJ James got picked up to the Seattle Seahawks as well. Round 7, pick 244, Justin Rogers to the Dallas Cowboys. And then round 7, pick 247, the last pick for an Auburn Tiger, Marcus Harris is heading to the Houston Texans. And Teresa, thank you for the happy birthday wishes as well. And then undrafted free agents got signed. Gunnar Britton is going to be working out with the Bills. Cam Stutz is going to be heading to Baltimore. Avery Jones heading to Tampa Bay. And then lastly, from what I've heard as this comes out, Mosai Nasili Kite to the San Francisco 49ers. So got a lot of Tigers that get picked up. All the offensive players got signed, the main lineman got signed to a training camp deal. But looking at the draft, I mean, every single one of the guys that got picked up in the draft, I think got taken a few rounds too late. I think Jalen Simpson, I thought that he was a lock for the 3rd round. I thought it was stupid that he didn't get drafted in the 4th round at that. I don't know what exactly they saw in Jalen Simpson that made him a late round pick. Same thing with DJ James. I would have assumed that they would have been the top 2 Tigers taken. And then a pick, when I heard the Seattle Seahawks took Nehemiah Pritchett, I was very shocked to hear about that. And Steve, I see your comment. What about Puckett? I have not heard word about Puckett getting picked up. I wasn't too high on him as a prospect, mainly because I wasn't too high on him as a safety at Auburn. He didn't really, I think, had he put on about 20-ish pounds and switched to linebacker, I think that would have made him a much better prospect. I think as a safety, he just doesn't have the tools necessary to be an NFL caliber safety. He definitely did struggle a lot in coverage at Auburn, and definitely a guy that gave up a lot in coverage as well. I think Puckett was a great tackler. But if he would have added, it's like the smoke. He's like a Smoke Monday to me. I think they see him as the same panel as I see Smoke Monday. Had he added the weight and switched to linebacker, I think a lot more teams would have been more apt to take him or to at least sign him. And of course he might just get a deal because after the draft, you're just like no holds barred, sign everybody. You never know who you're going to get, but I don't see Puckett as someone who will be on an NFL roster in the ever. And that's not nothing against Puckett. I just don't think he has the talent that we saw from the guys who got picked up. It's kind of like the same things as looking at Rudy Ford, who's now balling out for the Seahawks, or not Seahawks, the Packers. And then you have Daniel Thomas, who just got re-signed with the Jags not too long ago. Those guys possess those abilities and were late round picks. And they kind of hold what I think the same caliber of talent that Jalen Simpson did. If not, Jalen Simpson had more because I think his ball awareness is a lot better than those two. Yeah, Puckett, I'm not too high on. Teresa, I'm from Seattle, now live in Houston, so it was a good draft weekend for me. Yes, it was. You got to see 2 Auburn Tigers go to Seattle to join one Derek Hall up there. And then you also got to see Marcus Harris go to Houston. And then, so looking at looking at Nehemiah Pritchett, DJ James, I was very surprised with Nehemiah Pritchett because I think he's more of an athletic prospect than anything else. I think my uncle, who actually is a Seattle Seahawks fan. He actually was texting me about it, and he thinks that they might be switching him to like a return man because of his speed. I would not be shocked if that were to happen. He did return the kicks for Auburn in 2021, but hasn't done it since. It'd be interesting to see how he kind of goes to that. And Steven, I'm about to get to that in a second because I'm about to go through a bunch. I have a list of players who I think will get drafted in the coming years, or at least next year at the bare minimum. But yeah, Justin Rogers, I think was a good pick for the Cowboys that desperately need a defensive line. They got a good nose tackle. Justin Rogers actually saw his stock go up towards like as it got closer to the draft. I saw him start to appear more in late round picks. And then Marcus Harris, I do not know why he fell all the way down to round 7. But Marcus Harris definitely a great pickup for the Texans. He's going to show out in training camp. I think all these guys are going to be long-term NFL players. And but at the bare minimum, I can see the DBs kind of be like a Nico Thorpe level, like a Pro Bowler. Nico Thorpe was a Pro Bowler, but like staying in the background, staying on the bench, but being a reliable special teams player, just because that's what you get from those guys. But DJ James is going to be playing more of the slot role for Seattle. They already got 2 outside guys. Dima Pritchett, I think, more return guy. Jalen Simpson, I think Jay Simpson's going to be the best player out of this draft class for the Tigers. And the Justin Rogers and Marcus Harris, I like where they went in terms of teams getting what they need. I will say, and Steven's jumping the gun for me. Auburn has not had a first-round offensive player taken in the NFL draft since 2014, which is Greg Robinson, who got taken number 2 overall by the, at the time, St. Louis Rams, and have not had a first-round pick since Derek Brown and Noah Igbinoghene in 2020. Derek Brown, of course, on my Carolina Panthers, and Noah Igbinoghene, I think last I heard he was on the Cowboys. That's the last I've heard. He might still be there. I don't know if there's any Cowboys in the like watching on the stream, but if you want to let me know that, then let me know. Teresa, I do love that an Alabama player was Mr. Irrelevant. Lol, wish they wouldn't have had so many picks. Well, I think they had 10. I will say in terms of the NFL draft, and that's the last I kind of talk about this draft, and then I'll kind of move on to my list. Nick Saban, I think, needed a little bit more time to prepare for the draft. I was watching the ESPN broadcast with him, and it was like the college game day set. So it was Dez, Reese, Kirk, and Nick Saban. Nick Saban, I don't know what it was. I think he's going to be a really good analyst for the college level. But when they were asking him to give an analysis of a player he did not coach or scheme for, or it's like someone in that level, so someone in the SEC or someone who plays for Alabama, he didn't really have a really good analysis for that player. Like when it came to the quarterbacks, of course, everyone knows who Caleb Williams is, so he gave the analysis of that was good for that. And Jaden Daniels, he's very good for Jaden Daniels. But then Drake May, he didn't have nothing really all to say for Drake May. He kind of, and it's kind of a first time jitters, I guess. I'm not. Again, I think Nick Saban's gonna be really good as an analyst, but the NFL draft was just a terrible first time thing to throw him on because there's no way Nick Saban knows who all 267 players. I think to the later picks they were just like, oh, he's on my sleeper list. Like he's on my Nick Saban sleeper list, and that's all he would say. So Nick Saban's going to be very good, but yeah, Alabama did have a lot of players get picked up, but Auburn did have 5. That's half of what Bama put up, and that was all in the last day, last 3 rounds. So I kind of looked at this team going forward, and I picked 2 guys who I think are going to get drafted later on in their career in 2027, 2028, and I'm sure you can probably guess those 2 players who they are. But looking at the players who could go into the 2025 draft and potentially get drafted, I picked 4 from the offense, 4 from the defense, and I think these are like going to be the consensus 8 players that are going to be all over mock drafts if they do. And I'll kind of rate them in terms of who I think is the most likely to get drafted early on. I'm going to try to keep it first round. So it's going to be like a rating, like how likely are. So my first one I have on this list, I think Eugene Asante is by far the best player for the Auburn Tigers going into this next NFL draft. I'm saying it because of one guy is not going to be eligible for the draft, but Eugene Asante. You get everything you can ask for in a linebacker. You got the energy, you got the speed, you got the strength, you got the open field tackling. Everything you want in a linebacker is Eugene Asante. I think that if you're looking at someone who is going to be the first Tiger off the board and definite a early, like day one, early day two prospect, you're looking at Eugene Asante in that regard. And it's just something that he's like an Owen, like I don't want to call him an Owen Papo. I'm trying to think of a linebacker that I can compare him to. But Eugene Asante is, I don't think there is another Eugene Asante in like Auburn history. I think if Eugene Asante goes into this year and plays the same, if not better, than what he did last year, Auburn fans are going to start respecting Eugene Asante as like one of the top linebackers Auburn has seen, at least in the 21st century. I think that's a very valid argument to have because Eugene Asante is just that good. He led Auburn in tackling last year. When the linebacker room came in and looked like it was going to be a hot piece of garbage, he stepped up. Injuries came up. Eugene Asante was a sleeper. No one expected it to happen. And out of nowhere, out of the gun, here comes Eugene Asante leading the team, leader on the team. Could have gone to the draft this past year and got picked up, but stayed. When I'm thinking of players who can get drafted first from Auburn, it's Eugene Asante. And number two, just going to go to the offensive side of the ball, just to talk about some guys who I think are going to get drafted. I have Rivaldo Fairweather as one of the top offensive players, I think, going into this next NFL draft. Looking at the tight end position, it's such a vital part of today's NFL. Look at like the Travis Kelce's, the George Kittles, the Evan Ingrams, just going forward with all those players like that, the pass catching threat tight ends that you just love to see in the NFL, especially for your own NFL team if you have one of those. The Panthers do not have one of those guys yet. Jury's still on Jatavion Sanders from Texas. But yeah, Rivaldo Fairweather, everything you want. Tall, fast, a great pass catcher. He's a pretty decent blocker from last year. And you kind of have to be a good blocker whenever it comes to playing at Auburn. Just with especially last year with the high octane running game that Auburn had to rely on most of the year. But Rivaldo might go into the draft if he has a good year as one of the top tight ends in the draft itself. And we've seen over the last 3 years, I think it's been back to back first round picks have been used for tight ends. You had this draft, you had Brock Bowers, you had Dalton Kincaid the last draft, and then you had, of course, Kyle Pitts the year prior. Rivaldo Fairweather has an opportunity to be in that conversation, and it does kind of waver on can Peyton Thorne get the ball to him like he's supposed to, and of course with all the weapons, it's going to be hard to stand out in this new look, this new like fangled offense that Auburn now has. So I do think that the talent alone is going to get Rivaldo Fairweather drafted and early, hopefully, but definitely is going to get picked up in next year's draft. Going back to the defensive side of the ball, I got Jalen McLeod as my next Tiger up. High energy. The same thing as Eugene Asante. High energy player. Whenever Jalen McLeod came back from injury last year, it was noticeable. I mean, he came right off from the injury and was just ready to play. He was sacking quarterback. He was getting back to the backfield. Gave Auburn an edge on the defense that they had not had up to that point. So I'm thinking of like players who are going to get picked up. Jalen McLeod, definite guy that's going to be on people's draft boards just for his athleticism and the energy that it brings alone on the edge side. And of course, the edge, a new position that the NFL is now respecting as one. Back to the offensive ball. I'm gonna go back-to-back transfers here. It's for 3 transfers in a row for this upcoming season. So Keandre Lambert Smith, I have up currently already projected as a not a top wide receiver in this draft, but a draftable wide receiver in this next upcoming class with and I think I've seen most mock drafts kind of have in the 6th round, which I'm not going to be mad about that. If an Auburn wide receiver gets drafted, I'm not going to be upset about that at all. And of course, the argument is there that Auburn can't really claim him if it's only 1 year. Shout out Bo Nix for getting picked up by the Broncos. Also, fun fact, Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham will be battling out for a starting position for this NFL offseason. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So stay tuned to the loop to hear all about that. So, Condre Lambert-Smith, great route runner, great pass catcher. Already the wide receiver 2 on this Auburn Tiger team going into this upcoming season. I think that what he already possesses is a draftable level wide receiver, and I think with an upgraded offense and a veteran presence that he can add and upgrade the offense going the next year, I really like his chances of getting drafted next year. And then back to defense, Jaron Thompson, Texas guy. I think just what he possesses alone as a leader. I'm thinking later round. I'm thinking like day 3 for Jaron Thompson, but definitely a guy who I'm looking at to get drafted. And then for the offense side of the ball, Percy Lewis, Mississippi State transfer, big boy offensive lineman. Auburn is very iffy on getting lineman drafted early on. Greg Robinson, again, the last one to get drafted in the first round, and did not pan out at all for the Rams. Percy Lewis coming in for the offense. I think he's going to get picked up if he has a great year. I think early round just because of the size he possesses, but I think he'll get picked up nonetheless. I think just his size alone is very enticing to NFL coaches. And then last 2 guys, you're going to know exactly who these guys are. Keontae Scott, I think, possesses a lot of talent. And I don't know where exactly a team's going to look for Keontae Scott to play. I don't know if they're going to have him in outside corner. I would not have him in outside corner. I think the nickel, maybe a safety, maybe in the linebacker area. That's kind of where I'm at with Keontae Scott. If he has a great year with at the outside, because I think he is going to stick on the outside this year, he's going to get picked up. Auburn DBs always tend to get picked up. Auburn is a silent but deadly DBU. But Keontae Scott is a guy I just need to see how he plays at this new position, because he is good enough to get played in the NFL. He's athletic enough. He's talented enough. I just don't know what position to exactly put him at. Or where exactly NFL teams are going to want to put him at and place him. Teresa, guess it's good we have all these NFL caliber transfers, but it will be great when we have guys who only played for Auburn. And that does bring me to my last guy, Jarquez Hunter, who is the last guy I think who is eligible for next year's draft, who is going to get drafted. Jarquez just has, and I say that knowing that the NFL is kind of dying off when it comes to drafting running backs early. I think Carolina was the first team to take a running back off the board, and that was in the second round. Later, they traded back to get Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. But the running back, the talent that Jarquez Hunter has, he's fast. He can hurdle over people like no one's business. He's stronger than most running back that he gets credit for as a running back. People kind of have him as more of a speed back for some reason. But Jarquez if Jarquez were to finally hit the 1K mark, if he finally were to hit the 1,000-yard mark, I would be remiss to say that he would not be one of I'd be shocked if he was not one of the top running backs going into this next year's draft. And I'm saying that because I might be a little ignorant and don't know all the guys who are going to be available. I guess Quinshon Judkins is going to be up there. Travion Henderson will be potentially in the draft, and Travis Etienne maybe, but I don't think he'll be above Jarquez. Right now, I think Jarquez Hunter is the best running back in the SEC. I don't think Jarquez Hunter is a top 10 back in college football, but I do think he's the number 1 back in the SEC right now. And that'll be interesting to see moving forward how this team will look with Jarquez Hunter and, of course, Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb. Jarquez Hunter is going to have to prove himself as a running back 1. And not fall off on carries, not let like Damari Alston take over games like he had to last year, or Jeremiah Cobb have to come in and show out. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out, but it's going to be very fun to watch Jarquez Hunter next year. But I do think he's going to be one of the top running backs taken. But being a top running back taken could be anywhere from early round 2 to round 7, just because of the way the running backs are just kind of falling off as a respected position to put value in. And let's see, Teresa, hopefully if we have a passing game, the running backs will be able to do more with the defense not stuffing the box every play. That's the dream, especially with this new look offense that we've just been hyping up all the time. And that does bring me to my last couple of guys I'm going to talk about, who are guys I'm looking forward to potentially being a first rounder in the next coming years. But with the passing game, looking at Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman is a guy who I'm looking at potentially as a number one, like wide receiver one in the 2027-2028 NFL draft. And that's just going off of the hype and potential that he possesses alone. Cam Coleman is legit. And we've already seen what he can do. We've seen what he is able to do. We've not seen what he can do yet. I think that he will, if he requires any bit of development, then he will get it with Marcus Davis. But Cam Coleman is a guy who really stands out amongst the entire team as if I'm looking for a first rounder on this Auburn football team, I'm looking directly at number 8, Cam Coleman. And we will see later on what Perry Thompson has. He is not with the team quite yet. He might be on campus, but he has not practiced with the team yet because they have on a little bit of a break. But yeah, he'll be over here over the summer. So there we go, over the summer. But fall camp come around, we'll actually get to see Perry Thompson in action. But right now, Cam Coleman is the undisputed. If I were to place a bet on the first Tiger taken in the 2027, 2028, whichever one, NFL draft, Cam Coleman is getting that bet 10 times out of 10. No contest whatsoever. And defensive side of the ball, I'm going to also add in DeMarcus Riddick. I think the talent and the athleticism that he has at the linebacker position really is what NFL teams want in a linebacker nowadays. That's why Isaiah Simmons was so hyped up as a prospect because he could just do it all. That's why the Cardinals took him at I think 9 in whatever draft that was. It might have been 2020. But DeMarcus Riddick is another guy I'm very excited to watch play over the next coming years. I also have him as listed as the 2027, 2028 caliber player. And if these guys were to stay for 4 years, I'd be ecstatic. That'd be awesome. But I don't know how likely that is to happen. But yeah, if I were to say the next first round Auburn player is probably going to be, maybe say Connor Lew would probably be the first Tiger. Let me rephrase that. Connor Lew would probably be the most likely first round pick, like sooner rather than later. But Cam Coleman, I would have tied for first with that because I completely forgot about Connor Lew for a second. So that just brings in a whole other thing. And Keldrick Falk as well, someone I could look at as potentially getting in that first round grade. But yeah, those two are those are my lists of players potentially getting drafted next year as well as like in the future. But with that, going to move on to some news. And of course, if anybody else has any questions, I am down to answer those. Thomas Jones actually came up one. What's your opinion on Jason Jones, who had better stats than Justin Rogers? I think I do like Jason, and I hate that I forgot about Jason Jones when I was making this list. I probably would have put him over Jaron Thompson on that list. I think Jason Jones, he's a true nose tackle. I think that's like where I'm coming from with him. I think it's what Justin Rogers got picked up because he's a true nose tackle as well. But Jason Jones, I think the size is going to be very nice for NFL teams. And again, I don't know how I forgot to add him to this list. I guess I thought he was. I don't know why, if I thought he was younger than he was or what. But I that was stupid on my part. Jason Jones is going to get picked up next year, for sure. I think if he has a good year, he's gonna be a third, fourth round grade. But it kind of comes down to his athleticism. I think that's why you saw a drop in Marcus Harris. I think that he didn't have the greatest combine. He kind of was a little slow, and people value him as undersized. Jason Jones is not going to have the undersized problem, but athleticism I think could take a dive. But when you're looking at guys who are like that big, you cannot be upset with what you're going to be getting in Jason Jones. So I do think he's going to get picked up. I think he'll probably be the only defensive lineman taken for the Tigers, I do believe. Unless I don't know that's the thing. The new thing with the stupid eligibility rules. I don't know if trip card words are hard. Trip or Phillip or Gage going down the entire list of defensive line. I don't know how much eligibility they have left, and of course, if they have a good year, they'll go off to the draft. So Jason Jones is definitely the best defensive lineman on the team right now, and I do think he's going to be one of the top guys getting picked up. And then so transfer portal news: Jay Fair, former starting wide receiver for the Auburn Tigers, has announced his commitment today to the USC Southern California Trojans. And then Colton Hood, former Auburn defensive back, has announced that he is going to be joining his brother to the Colorado Buffaloes. So huge shout out to those two. I wish them the best of luck and a good career because they did not transfer to an Auburn rival. So I will wish them the best of luck in the Big Ten and Big 12. So that's going to be fun to say. And then got some recruiting news with a potential transfer portal linebackers, or two as of that. I'll start off with Eugene Asante, currently trying to recruit Cam Riley back to the Tigers. Cam Riley has, at the early parts of the transfer portal, he transferred to NC State alongside, I believe, Donovan Kaufman. But he has since entered the portal back. And then I probably scared a lot of people and say Eugene Asante. But Eugene Asante currently did tweet out to Cam Riley trying to get him back in the linebacker room. I don't think it's likely to happen. I think UCF could be a really good stopping point for Cam Riley. But I think Cam Riley's time at Auburn has come to an end. He looking at guys like Wesley Steiner, who did enter the portal. I think that they never developed as a linebacker at Auburn. And I think that they kind of see that. So I don't see Cam Riley coming back. I'd be very shocked if he did. And then lastly, speaking of linebackers, Khalil Jacobs, South Alabama linebacker, last year for the Jaguars, 13 games, had an interception. Also had, let me try to count the totals, 56 total tackles. He had 3 sacks. He had 8.5 TFLs. He had 1 pass deflection, 3 forced fumbles for the Jaguars last year. Currently listed as a 3-star in the portal. He'd be a huge pickup. Currently, he is scheduled to visit Auburn on April 30th, and the last few transfers who have visited Auburn have committed not long after the fact. But the linebacker position is it's less a position of need now than it was last year. So you look at your starting guys in Austin Keys, and you have Eugene Asante, and you're looking back behind that, you have Dorian Mousey, and you have DeMarcus Riddick. After that, you don't really have a lot of guys who can mesh in right away. DJ Barber is really good. I do expect to see him a lot. And Joseph Phillips, I do expect to kind of play more of the edge role with a lot of the younger guys who are going to be playing on the defensive line. But I just saw P-Pass being on drugs down there. But I do see a world where Auburn does add Khalil Jacobs. He does have a lot of talent. He was a very, very underrated linebacker for the Jaguars last year, and I do like what he possesses at 6'2", 218, a athletic freak, if you will. He will be coming in with, I believe, if my math does serve me right, with 2 more years of eligibility. So that'd be a nice little developmental piece, especially moving forward, who could play alongside like DeMarcus Riddick, DJ Barbers of the world. Especially when you're looking at trying to recruit the linebacker room. So it's all you gotta do is reload later on, but you don't got to rebuild after Eugene Asante and Austin Keys leave. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then going to bring up P-Pass over here. Reminder: 10 wins, hope is eternal. Listen, I can bug with the best of them. I have these glasses right here that I will be wearing as soon as Auburn gives me a reason to bug. Golf did give me kind of a reason today, but right now I'm not going to bug for football. I will say I do think the Condre Lambert-Smith pickup that happened Wednesday. I do think that he does possess the talent to add a win to my win total already. Right now, I'm Auburn 8-4. That's where I'm currently standing, and I'm trying to stay firm on the 8-4 train. But I do not want to bug too hard and go past that line. I'm trying to be reasonable. With also like not being like a hater like some people have been. So I will be ecstatic with 8-4, even though I'm predicting it right now. I will be satisfied with 7-5. I will be okay with 6-6 in year 2. This year alone. And I will be absolutely going crazy if Auburn hits 10 wins. PPass, I'll get. You can hold me to this. I don't even know what I'm gonna say. If Auburn gets 10 wins this year, I will shave my beard on the live stream. I will do that. If Auburn gets 10 wins this year, I will shave my beard on the podcast. I'll leave the mustache. I'll keep the mustache, but I will shave my beard. Not all the way down the skin, but I will go down. I'll shave it on the one. It'll be just stubble. That's all it will be. I'll have a Top Gun look, just stash stubble. If Auburn gets 10 wins, I'll let you hold me to that. We need a Keandre Lambert Smith song. I cannot make that for you. I do not know how to write a song, but you can probably find someone who could do that for you. But so yeah, PPass. There you go. I'll shave my beard if Auburn gets 10 wins. So before we get to men's basketball, I do want to shout out everybody who is currently on the watching the stream live and has been commenting. Thank you, all of you, to everyone out there who is supporting the loop. And of course, there are other ways you can support the show as well. You could like, you could comment, you could subscribe. All those things would be great. We're almost at 100 subscribers, so that'd be a lot of fun. But you can also find other ways to support the show because we have t-shirts over here on the War Report Podcast Network. The Feeling Loopy College Loop sponsored War Report Podcast Network sponsored as well. Feeling Loopy t-shirts. Comes in 5 different colorways. Comes in navy. Comes in black. Comes in gray. Only $25. Just take yourself to the warreport.com. Go to the shop. Believe me, it's on the first page. And if you don't want to type all that up, of course, you can just go to the link in the description below. Get your Feeling Loopy shirt today. You know, it's my birthday. You know it's a great gift. Y'all getting the Feeling Loopy t-shirts and then, of course, posting those online. Hashtag Feeling Loopy. So we know that you got it, that we know you see it. Don't forget to tag us as well, just to add extra layer that we have it, that you got it. And believe me, we will shout y'all out on the show whenever y'all get those shirts. Before we get on, so orders the gear. People, I appreciate the banter. There has to be someone overly optimistic. That is me. That's all fine and dandy. I'm okay with someone being the crazy one of the group. But yeah, Auburn basketball. Chris Moore, CMO, has announced that he will be returning to the Auburn basketball team in 2024/2025. It's crazy. We're already talking about 2025. But huge. I expected it to happen. I guess the reveal kind of took a little bit longer than I expected. I expected to hear this. Everyone was expecting Chris Moore to come back. Chris Moore went into last season as a starter, got benched, and it was kind of sad to see happen. He just wasn't contributing to the team offensively. Defensively, he had the effort. Simo always has the effort readily available. And then it just, I don't know, he just got benched. He just got worse, and Leor Berman had to take over the role, and Leor Berman was having a great season. Leor Berman gets hurt. Bruce Pearl calls up Simo. Simo gets back on the court, plays lights out. He was actually one of the top players Auburn had in March. And it was awesome to see that happen. It was awesome to watch Simo just have this return to glory that Auburn fans were just not expecting. I wasn't expecting it. I was fully on the Simo is done train. But awesome to see Simo come back. I think what you're having a complete team going the next year. You're gonna have a trio of guards. You missed out on Labaron Philon, who has gone to Alabama. So it is very funny. I will say this. It is very funny to see Aiden Holloway talk crap about Bruce Pearl, saying he sort of want a dream immediately for Nate Oates to pick up his replacement. So that's just me. That's funny. That is hilarious to me. But with Chris Moore back, you got a guy who's going to be playing in the backup 4, potentially backup 3. Kind of depends on where you want to place everybody at. So right now you're going to have got to get it right the first time. JP Pegues. I didn't say JP Furman that time. JP Pegues. Then you're going to have Denver Jones play at the 2. And you're going to have Todd Bedford coming in to kind of round out and have a little trio of guards coming in. And then at the 3, you're going to have CBM and Ja'Kai Howard. 4, you're going to have Chaney Johnson and you're going to have Chris Moore. At the 5, you're going to have Janai Broome and Dylan Cardwell. I love this team. Steven, I completely forgot to answer your question, man. I completely forgot. Let me finish the basketball. I'll go right back to your car. I completely forgot you asked me that question because I got talking about all the NFL draft players. So I'll come right back to that after basketball. But yeah, give me 2 minutes, man. I'm so sorry. But yeah, this team is going to look really good next year. And of course, you're going to have the loaded SEC. It's always going to be loaded. Arkansas is recruiting very highly right now. They have Calipari. Kentucky is, I don't know where Kentucky's going to be at next year. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They're just going to be BYU, same color blue and everything. Georgia is on a pace to look dangerous to teams next year. I don't think they're going to be competing anytime soon, but definitely a team that got to look out for, especially if you're in Athens. Florida, always getting better. Missouri, don't know what Missouri's going to look like next year. It can't get much worse. Vanderbilt's going to be a new look team. SEC is going to the culture of the SEC going into the summer is going to look grossly different because, of course, you're adding in Texas, you're adding Oklahoma in, and of course the entirety of the relocation process going on in all college sports. But this team does stand out to me. I do think that looking at the SEC next year in basketball, this Auburn team should possess the talent, should possess the shooting to be a top team in the SEC. Will that happen? I don't know. Will I hopefully not have to bite my words for that or eat my words? Sorry. Possibly. Knock on wood. This team is an SEC caliber, like regular season and conference title, potential team. And you get that, especially I'm like Chris Moore's biggest fan right now. But I'm very hyped up about what basketball is going to be like next year. And then, so with that, I'm going to go back up to the football conversation because I completely forgot about Steven's question. Does Peyton Thorne get drafted in the 2025 NFL draft? I don't think Peyton Thorne would have to have an outstanding year for me to think that he gets drafted. It kind of if he hits 3,000 yards passing, I would say definitely gets picked up later on. But I don't think so. I think Peyton Thorne's gonna have a good year. I think he's 2,500 yards is where I have him at 2,500 to 2,700. I think he's gonna have a really good year, very much improved year. I don't think that he'll be looked at as P-Pass is over there hyping up Devin Leary get drafted. You're right. But I do think Devin Leary possesses a better passing tree than Peyton Thorne does. I think that you're looking at a true passing type quarterback. Devin Leary is that guy. And I think that's why I got picked up because of his arm potential alone. But Peyton Thorne does offer a dual threat ability. I think that people are going to be kind of scared of quarterbacks going the next year. I don't think this quarterback class going into the NFL right now is all that good. But after Shador and I think Carson Beck's ended up getting drafted early. And honestly, I need to see how the SEC pans out. I think Carson Beck is by far, or not Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers is by far the best quarterback in the SEC going into this upcoming season. Second is Carson Beck. After that, it's a free-for-all. I mean, you got Jackson Dart, you got Jalen Milroe, you got Peyton Thorne, you got Graham Mertz, who could end up having another good year. Draftable guys I'm trying to throw out all over the place. I don't think Blake Shapen is a guy to worry about. Garrett Nussmeier could have a great year. Brady Cook, Connor Wegman. If Peyton Thorne gets drafted, it'll be round 6, round 7. But that's if he has a 2,500 plus yard season. Even a 3,000 yard season, I think would get him in the 5th round category, just because quarterbacks are just randomly picked in that round. I'm high on Peyton Thorne, but I'm not NFL draft like level high. He's going to be a good quarterback for Auburn next year, for this upcoming year, especially because he has all these weapons. So I'm interested to see where exactly NFL draft scouts are going to have him, but right now, 6 round 7 caliber prospect right now for the NFL. And again, I'm sorry, I completely whiffed on answering that question. So now I've got Diamond Sports. And before we get to Diamond Sports, I'm going to go ahead and shout out Auburn men's golf, who are the SEC champions for this season, after taking down number 2 Vanderbilt after a missed putt for the Commodores, got Auburn the SEC champion, won 3-2, winning their first SEC title since 2018, their 5th overall title in program history. So a huge shout out. Auburn's an everything school. It's simple as that. Auburn now has 2 SEC championships in 2024, or 3 SEC championships, I believe. They have equestrian, golf, and men's basketball. Got the tournament championship. So a huge shout out to men's golf. And then also in gymnastics news, we are getting ready for the Summer Olympics as Suni Lee, former Auburn great, wins gold for the beam at the American Classic, and a future Auburn Tiger in Marissa Neal wins the bronze in the all-around at the American Classic as well. So huge shout out to those two, and cannot wait to see Marissa Neal compete for the Auburn Tigers next year, or in the coming years. I don't know which year. I think it's next year. For the Tigers, because Auburn is desperately going to be looking for firepower going into the next few years. And that's just because I can't remember what year exactly she is off the top of my head. I meant to put in my notes, and I forgot. Sorry, excuse me, cough. And now Diamond Sports. Auburn falls 2-1 to LSU in baseball. A very lackluster first night that ended in a 5-0 Auburn loss. Auburn just could not hit the ball, save their lives. Only 2 hits on the day. Pitching just wasn't great. I think Dylan Watt started off okay. And then he started off pretty good. Didn't give up a single run until, of course, I think the 4th inning. Gave another one in the 5th, got taken out, and then in the 7th inning, LSU just put on a clinic, got 3 runs, won 5-0. Day 2, Auburn played them closer, lost 3-2. Had the lead, got 1-0 lead, then LSU came back quick, answered it with 2 more. Auburn tied it up, and then in the bottom of the 9th, LSU singles and walk off RBI for LSU. That was just one of those back-to-back days where it was kind of embarrassing to watch. The pitching did not kill Auburn in the second game, and actually won them in the third game. John Armstrong gets the win on the day, but you had Will Cannon had a very good showcase. He gave up a run. Parker Carlson showed out a lot in that last game of the day. In 3 innings, not gave up a single run. Only gave up 1 hit on 2 strikeouts. They keep doing this thing where they play very good for games that for series they've already lost. I just wish I don't want to say I'm ready for the season to be over with, but I cannot wait for the next year's baseball team, because I do not need Everett Tiford needs to be let go, and then just completely revamp what the pitching rotation looks like next year. I think you need to go through every single pitcher and figure it out, and get a really good pitching coach. For the love of everything that is holy, get a good pitching coach. Everett Tiford has not been it all year long, and it just shows. Auburn now advances to 21-22 on the year, and 3-18 in the SEC. And of course, this next weekend they will be back in Plainsman Park, take on the Ole Miss Rebels for their third to last SEC conference tournament or conference game before the SEC tournament in just a month away. And let's see, I'll be happy to make it past round 1. I will be happy if Auburn wins a game in Hoover. I'll be ecstatic. I think that's already over expectations of what we've seen thus far. Auburn softball, on the other hand, started off good in an 11-inning win over the Ole Miss Rebels, winning 2-1. It just absolutely long, grueling game. Matty Pinta pitched 9 innings, gave up 1 run, had 18 strikeouts, which I do believe ties a program record. So Matty Pinta just absolutely just doing what Matty Pinta does best and making sure that everyone sits down once they get to the plate. Pitched 172 balls, which is absolutely ridiculous, especially with the pitching rotation that Auburn has. Shelby Lowe earned the win with 2 innings, had 2 strikeouts, and wrapped up the game for the Tigers and got them the win in the bottom of the 11th. Then game 2 and 3 came along, and it was reverse the effect. So Auburn started off with the lead early in the first, and then in the third inning through fourth, Ole Miss scored 4 uncontested runs, and then Auburn kind of come back in the 7th. Did not get there. Lost 4-2, and it just wasn't a great night for Annabelle Idra. She's been good all year, but this has just been a very bad game for her to give it 4 runs. Only had 3 strikeouts. In game 3, Auburn lost 7-2. They just could not get anything going. I'm pretty sure they had the bases loaded late and only got 1 run in for that. And I believe that was actually yesterday's game. So with that, it does suck for Auburn softball. They have 1 more weekend series left. That is at Jamie Moore Field against Alabama. And, of course, after that, they'll be back in Jamie Moore for the SEC tournament. I just don't know how to, analyze Auburn softball this year. They've had series where they've looked competent. They've had series where they look bad. They've had series where they've actually looked like they've improved a lot, especially in the LSU series. I don't know. I just don't know what to expect at any given weekend with them. I'm ecstatic for whenever they decide to announce who Auburn is trying to interview for the head coaching job. And, of course, it is middle of the season, so you're not going to be interviewing a lot of people. But I'm getting ready for that. That's going to be a lot of fun to see where Auburn softball goes moving forward. But they do play Alabama this weekend, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a preview for that on the Thursday show for both Auburn versus Alabama in softball and Auburn versus Ole Miss in baseball. But, of course, I'll kind of, as I'm riffing, I'll give y'all time if you want to ask me any questions about Auburn athletics. If you want to ask me more questions about players in the NFL draft, I am down to answer those questions. But that, I'm going to go ahead and try to wrap up the show. I am Dylan Larck at YouBoyTank on Twitter. Follow my Instagram as well at Dylan Larck at DYLENLARCK. And, of course, you can find me right there on the College Loop podcast as well, where you should like, comment, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. So, if you're looking for us anywhere else, you got us on the audio versions of the show as well. It's going to be on Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and, of course, Amazon Music. And, of course, social medias. You have us on TikTok, which, I use TikTok a lot more, but don't know how much longer we're going to have it around. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the works, all of those at the College Loop. Visual aid, right there. Also links in the descriptions below. Also links on the account as well. And, of course, don't forget, Feeling Loopy t-shirt. Go get your own $25. And it's the most comfortable shirt you're ever going to wear in your entire life. If you don't trust me, because it's like my logo and the shirt that I'm wearing all the time, you got words are hard. You got so many people out there who love the shirts. So don't forget to get your College Loop Feeling Loopy t-shirt today. And I hate that I'm blanking on names, but I've been talking to myself for 48 minutes. So with all that being said, thank y'all for tuning in and thank y'all for watching the College Loop podcast.